O'Reilly's serious. Okay, we know he's not kidding. Now, I laughed a couple of times during O'Reilly, too, because the whole thing's become a comedy show. You can't take anything they say seriously. He brings Wesley Clark on, General Wesley Clark. He says, you took $75,000 from George Soros. George Soros is evil. George Soros is terrible. George Soros is liberal. George Soros... And I'm like, give me one fact. I'm keeping a clock on it. I'm like, I'm watching the segment. Give me one fact of why Soros is any of the names you just called him. Like, okay, give me the fact and then call him the names, because we call names sometimes on the show. Let's get real. But we tell you the story. Here's why we think this person is X or Y or Z. There's nothing behind it. He's like, how could you take his money? George Soros is the worst person in the world. And Wesley Clark's like, well, what are you talking about? He fought communism in Eastern Europe. And he's like, no, he didn't. And then, but he knows he did, right? O'Reilly knows, right?
Did he actually say no, he didn't?
First he says that, and Clark is like, well, you know he did. And he's like, well, I don't care about Bulgaria.
Bulgaria.
That's what he said. I don't care about Bulgaria. I care about what he does here, and he's a liberal. Right? So here we go again, attacking the liberals for being liberal.
Right, yeah.
Okay, for whatever, right? And General Clark says, Bill, you're just doing a character assassination. He's like, that's right, I am. Okay, here comes the best part. Because that's right, I am. Right? Because some people's character needs to be assassinated. Right? And then they go 90 seconds, and then Bill O'Reilly switches to MoveOn. It's still within the Soros conversation. And he's like, these MoveOn.org guys, all they do is character assassination. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, am I in a movie?
Right.
I'm like, what? Is Stephen Colbert taking over O'Reilly's money? I mean, I'm not kidding, and I'm not exaggerating. Within 90 seconds.
So Wesley Clark wasn't there anymore?
No, he was still there. He's talking to Wesley Clark, and he's like, you support these MoveOn guys? And he's like, well, they do a good job on certain important issues. He's like, nah, all they do is character assassination. How could you say that? How do you not realize that? Does somebody not play the tape back at you and go, hey, Bill, next time you might want to watch that? Because it was within a 2-minute time period. Final analysis, when you listen to the O'Reilly Factor and you listen to Glenn Beck and all that, it's really, and a lot of you listening to this probably thinking, of course. But, I hadn't watched these programs in a while, so it became so stark to me having, not watched them for a while and then all of a sudden watching 2 or 3 of them in one day. All they are is propaganda. They're not even making a loose effort at news or information. It's just, classic propaganda 101, personal attacks against liberals, immigrants, Muslims,
right.
Immigrants, Muslims,
and
that's all it is. It's not at all sophisticated.
And people against me are terrorists.
Yeah, there's no, intricacy of thought. There's no considering the other side. And then I was like, wow, how could people, people say, sometimes they say, oh, Fox News Channel, if they're even halfway smart, they say Fox News Channel is conservative. Some of them think that that's,
mainstream.
That's news,
fair,
which,
right.
Blows my mind, of course. But the others will say, hey, Fox News Channel is right-wing and Air America is left-wing. Man, we are not in the same boat as those people. That is not what we do. I mean, we try really hard to look at both sides of the issue here. They're not trying at all. They're not even come close to trying.
They're intentionally misleading. It's always been true. They are Bill O'Reilly is intentionally misleading you. Why is it, who was opposed to Sikorsky, the liberals and the socialists and the radical Muslims, which is a word for terrorists. So, I mean, boom, that's all you need to know right there. Why do the liberals always side with the radical Muslims? Well, that's not a sophisticated person. That's a silly person.
Right. If you ask why is Dick Cheney working with some of the Sunni radicals in Pakistan and Lebanon, in this perhaps upcoming civil war in the whole Middle Eastern region, and perhaps he should be working with the Shiites, or we should have a smarter policy, that's an interesting conversation. Yeah. It's like, Dick Cheney, he loves Al-Qaeda. He's the conservatives are always with the terrorists. What the hell is that?
Right, but that's not driving home a point that's already widely believed. What O'Reilly does is actually worse, because they are reinforcing something that I would hope many of them at least know to be untrue, but is sort of widely held because they have such great propaganda machines. As we know, when we had the author, what was his name, Mohsin Hamid, on the show earlier, who's written the book, the novel, The Reluctant Fundamentalist. He talked about in where he grew up in Pakistan. What was the name? Pak? Is that the Pakistani dictator?
I forget right now.
Anyway, whatever the Pakistani dictator was in the 1980s that was installed by Ronald Reagan, who who turns out to be ultimately a guy who we would oppose now and a fundamentalist in his own right. But all we cared about at the time was fighting the Russians. All we cared about was standing up to the Soviet Union. I mean, Bill O'Reilly's argument is no more sound than saying Ronald Reagan and his buddies and his rich white buddies supported Islamic fundamentalism.
But we know why they did. And,
right.
It was wrong, and it was short-sighted, but we know why they did. And if we painted it as like, just because Ronald Reagan and Republicans love terrorists or Islamic fundamentalists, that would be ridiculous.
And by the way, and if you gave the option to most of those Reagan guys now and said, hey, if you support these guys, it's pretty much a guarantee that they're going to come to power and be terrorists and try to kill the Americans. Then you know what they would do? Like, well, we got to have another plan. I mean, they're not insane. I won't say the same thing about the Bush administration.